The 2023 13th Colony Double Oak Bourbon sits here in front of me today. Big shout out to 13th Colony for sending me the sample here to review on the channel. Guys, this was an absolute monster of a whiskey last year. It was one of my favorite whiskeys I was able to try last year. I was very excited to see that they are rolling out with the second batch this year. A little bit about this whiskey. So it was matured in separate oak barrels to extract a softer and sweeter oak profile. It was also finished in toasted maple wood barrels. So this bourbon is aged for 10 years, comes in at 136.8 proof. Allocation for this whiskey was in Georgia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Texas. Is this second release of 13th Colony Double Oak Bourbon better than the first one? I don't know. We're about to find out. All right, guys, so as I stated, this one is 10 years old, comes in at 136.8 proof. Let's get in the nose. So this is the richest chocolate and caramel nose I have ever smelled. Further into the glass, it becomes more of almost a dark chocolate. Further away from the glass is actually a little bit lighter of a chocolate. Nice kind of layer of caramel that kind of flows through there. Little hint of vanilla further away from the glass as well. Yeah, so further into, as it starts to open up a little bit, there is this nice kind of, almost like a wet leather note there further in. And again, it gets a little bit darker of a chocolate further into the glass on the nose and still has that kind of creamier chocolate further away. Nice kind of caramel, again, that kind of flows through with it. Very rich and dense. Nice kind of vanilla note on it as well. You do get that oak influence, no matter where you smell it from, whether it's further into the glass, further away. There is definitely that oak presence to it, but it doesn't offer a ton of spice. There's not a lot of ethanol on it. Like, you wouldn't know off of the nose that this is 136.8 proof. Guys, I'm excited to get into this one. Let's get into the palate. Cheers. Oh, sing to me. That is such a rich, oily, dense whiskey. From the time it touches the front of the palate all the way to the back, it's a nice kind of spicy kind of oak character to it. But then as the whiskey starts to set in and kind of grab a hold of your tongue, that chocolate, there's a slight hint of like some like toffee kind of thing going on the center of the palate. As it reaches the back of the palate, some of that chocolate starts to kind of come about. It's almost like a peppery kind of chocolate. It's almost an in between of like that dark and then that milk kind of chocolate. It's kind of like right in between, with like a little bit of like some pepper in it. And I'm not talking like a little bit of like some black pepper, but it's more of like a baking pepper, something that's kind of spicy. A little bit of like maybe like a Cajun kind of pepper there as it hits the back, the spiciness from it. But man, you talk about a finish on a whiskey, that is still going down. And it's got some heat to it. You definitely feel the proof on the palate. But this whiskey, though, is you get that influence from the front all the way to the back of the palate, all the way through the finish. It is a long finish, not even a medium to long. It is a long finish. It is still going down. It's still giving me that hug. Ooh. That was a great first sip. Let's get a second one. So on the front of the palate on that one, on that second sip, I feel like there was like some kind of like marshmallow sweetness, but it almost reminds me of the chocolate marshmallows that you would get. It also it kind of gives you that chocolatey flavor there, but like with the sweetness of some marshmallows. So kind of very sweet kind of chocolate on the front of the palate. And as it gets to the middle, it's like there's some oakiness, there's some like some spiciness too that sits there across the center of the palate. And then as it gets into the back of the palate, it really kind of opens up to like this almost like a kind of spicy kind of chocolate, like a Cajun, like some kind of Cajun pepper, very kind of spicy kind of pepper, with some of that chocolate. And again, it's almost a mixture of like that dark and milk, like milk chocolate, like a combination. Man, that is an incredible whiskey. And then after now, like right now, as I'm talking to you, there's like that chocolatey toffee kind of thing going on there on the center of the palate. It's like this flavor is kind of like resurrecting. It's like coming back. Wow. I would have to do these side by side, but I honestly think that this might be the better batch. I'm going to have to find a bottle of this somewhere. If I do, I can already tell you it's going to be in my top 10 whiskeys this year. By far. Let's get a last sip, guys. Cheers. See, so that sip changed a little bit. That I got more of like some dark fruit, some chocolate, some like spicy chocolate covered dark fruit, like some prunes there on the back of the palate. Front of the palate still has that sweetness, like a chocolate marshmallow on the front of the palate. Middle of the palate is like this kind of where like some of that pepper starts to gain its influence there on the center of the palate with some of that oakiness. And it's a sweet oak. It's not a dark, dense oak like you would think, but it is more of a sweeter kind of profile oak. And then as it gets into the back of the palate, there is like a slight hint of tobacco. There is, again, that spicy kind of peppery chocolate. And then there's like that, it's like a spicy chocolate, a mix of chocolate, dark and milk chocolate, like with a prune on top of like a prune. Some of that darker fruit is starting to make its appearance there on the back of the palate. And as it flows down into the finish, it's just a long, continuous finish that just continues to go on and on and on. It's one of the longest finishes I've had in a very long time, I can tell you that. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. I want to give a big shout out to 13th Colony for sending me a sample here to review on the channel. Guys, this is a special kind of whiskey. That's all I can really say is I want to find a bottle. I really do. This is going to be in my top 10 whiskeys of the year if I can find a bottle of it. This is a remarkable whiskey by 13th Colony. That's all I can say about it, guys. If you can find one of these bottles in any of those allocated states, even on the secondary market, highly recommend. 5 stars here from Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, hit that subscribe button and bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Till next time, guys, stay dusty.